It's already been a day full of games, and believe it or not, it's down to one final series of the night. Welcome, everybody, to week number 8 of Stage 4 of Quake Pro League. My name's Ketchup, joined by the wonderful ZSX, and our final matchup is going to be Dramis up against Rapha.
And this day's gone quick, no?
It has.
Like, quick. I think normally there's a series I can look at and go, right, that was pretty average, but not today. Not today. Today's been awesome, and I'm hoping for some more awesomeness. I honestly haven't seen an awful lot of Rapha in recent weeks. I know he's been playing. I've seen some of his games, but not all of them. So I'm excited to see what he brings back to the table. Again, I'm always interested to see what these players are doing this close to a big event. I think it's easy to slip off in earlier weeks, particularly if you're in the upper stages of the leaderboard where points might not matter too much to you. But as you do approach, let's call it game time at the LAN, at the finals, whatever it is, I like to see the shape of players going into it. And Drama and Rapha are people, obviously. Rapha's a fan favourite and the favourite a lot of the time, but Dramis is an up-and-coming player that I want to see more of, so interested to see what he has to do.
I mean, he's been pretty successful in this stage in particular. He's secured a really decent amount of victories, just going over all of his previous games, and he's been one of the more successful players in the Americas. And I think there's really an air of confidence to Dramis that seems to get better as we go on. That is, I mean, without question, going to get put to the test against the likes of Rapha, who is not only the undisputed best player in the Americas, but some still say best in the world, and he proves that consistently. Like, Rapha is absolute top of the food chain, and he's always, without question, minimum top 3. Like, that can never be questioned. So Dramis, I mean, this is a final boss right here. Yeah,
for sure. And Rapha for me is probably the most clinical player in the world, and perhaps now has the most all-round play style in the world. But he also has his off days. So if Dramis can to make something happen, it'd be great to see an upset. I mean, no bias here, but it's very... I don't think we've ever seen Rapha lose a series in Quake Pro League. So, it's always nice to see an underdog do something, but it's not to be expected. If it can be close, that's stage 1 for Dramis. If it can take a map, that's like a true victory. And I definitely believe he's got more than enough capability to take a map of Rapha. But the question is, will Rapha allow it? And I think that's always what we always have to think about with Rapha, is that we talk about people being able to take a map on him, but most of the time, let's be real, it doesn't happen, because he is the best of the best in this part of the world, and there's just no questioning it. We have got the picks and bans, so we can see what the journey's going to be. I believe our first matchup is a Battle of the Crouch Sliders. So our first map is going to be Ruins of Sarnath, and we have Dramis with the Slash. I mean, I think of any of these maps, if he has an opportunity to get a win here, I would think that Dramis has the best opportunity with his Slash. The problem is he's going up against Rapha's Strog, and Rapha's Strog on this map is historically very, very successful indeed. So it's kind of one of those things that Dramis has one of his strongest picks, but he still has to fight one of Rapha's strongest picks. So is it really an advantage? And Rapha brought, I guess, the picking to the fore and how important they are. I think up for a long time, people were picking champions based on what they wanted to play, whereas it felt like Rapha was thinking outside the box a lot of the time when it came to which champions he's picking and why he's picking them. And we see that right here in terms of, as you rightly say, going up with speed on the first map, and then even going into the second, a Ranger against an Anarchy. Your life can be quite difficult as a Ranger. You need to use that orb sparingly and for verticality. You can use it for the additional burst component, but the speed of Anarchy is something to be wary of. And then moving into Awoken, we have Sorlag versus Keel. Keel's a very unusual pick on Awoken. Whilst it's quite a small map, there aren't a huge amount of choke points to play around with Keel, and you could be very vulnerable going up against the speed of Sorlag. Once again, Sorlag isn't the most common pick on that map, but it definitely works when you're putting up against a Keel.
I'd almost think that Keel pick is like a deathmatch pick.
Yeah.
You see Keel on deathmatch all the time on Awoken, just not necessarily duel.
So, yeah, I'm not too confident looking at the picks, if I'm honest. There's nothing that stands out and says Dramis has got an advantage.
I think Rapha's won the picks.
Yeah, ever so
Because,
slightly.
I mean, we just look at the... I mean, there's a chance that of all these maps, if we're looking at champions alone, maybe the Ranger will be able to do something. But, I mean, what's so dangerous about Rapha is he's seen it all. There's nothing really you can do that's this... there's no element of surprise. And that's often, I think, some of the highest chances people have of taking maps from Rapha is that element of surprise, where, you know, he expects everything methodical. And if you do something that really sticks a spanner in the works, it can catch him off guard. And I guess the question is what you can do after that. That doesn't really happen as much anymore, though, because, I mean, it seems to get week by week harder and harder to surprise him because, you know, he's ready for everything. It's his preparation, really, with Rapha. It's his preparation that makes him absolutely such a top of the food chain player. We didn't really touch on predictions because I think a 3-0 is the safest prediction of the day. Yeah. We'll see if Rapha is, you know, going to follow through with this and take that 3-0. If Dramis can make him fight for it, maybe a map. We'll see.
We will see. We will see, Ryan. As we move into it, I'm on Rapha, speeding around the map as he normally does.
And he's already making things difficult for Dramis. That one rail alone has put Dramis behind. There might be a light armor. Yeah, has just been soaked up. But that's all he's getting for a while. The heavy's going to spawn. Looks like Rapha's going to allow it for now. And they just go for a basic trade. I take it, you take it. Rapha controlling the high ground and getting a beautiful rocket to start things off. Always going to be difficult with those smaller champions. Those rockets hurt a lot.
You do indeed. And we can see, despite playing Slash, Dramis is reluctant to move. Not knowing where Rapha is, doesn't want to take an untoward rocket or rail. Will really limit his advances. Once again, he is the light champion, so Rapha has the stack advantage, but not the speed disadvantage in reality, in practically on this map as well. It's hard as a Slash on this map to get up full momentum.
Information time, or lack of in this case, as Dramis does slow the pace down near Mega. Seems to catch Rapha a little bit. Definitely not entirely sure where Dramis is in this point in time.
Yeah, but with heavy, very wary, and he does drop into a rail. He's going to try and contest to steal away the heavy, which he does. Rapha's in a good position. Wait, he might go down here, which he does. Good frag from Dramis, which was a hard committal, but time to perfection in the end of the day. Can he get the follow-up? It's a very loud rocket launcher he's got.
Oh, that kamikaze hurts. Immediate damage as Dramis tries to go for one of those drive-by rails. It takes minimal damage, all things considered, so definitely could have been worse.
Oh no.
Answered back by a rail. I mean, it's a good shot from Dramis, but not enough to save his skin. Rapha with far too much stack. Plasma trail. I actually really like that plasma trail. It shut down the jump pad completely.
It's also not the worst thing in the world to overcommit as a Strog if you get the kill, because you do get those health files from killing your opponent, so you get some level of restack, so your opponent can't always push in off the bat.
More of that timing from Rapha. Happy to concede items sometimes as long as he can keep the timing on them. And here comes even more of that rocket from range. The Pika swiftly shut down, and the rail's going to miss. Watch out for the tri-bolt. Likely to be it. Rapha does pretty much as much damage as he possibly can there, but Dramis does live to fight another day. Barely.
Well, that's what Slash enables so effectively, is just opening opportunities. The smallest of margins, but after hitting that rail, meant that the speed of Slash, Dramis was able to close the gap. Great opening rocket from Dramis out of the teleporter. Rapha's already set up for this mega.
Oh, and Rapha can still secure it. 2-2. Both players.
I think Dramis recognized that as well.
Tries to go in for a bit more of the rocket damage. I mean, the question is he even in a position to fight for this heavy? Yeah, quite rightly so. Dramis is going to disengage right there, does not want to challenge. back to that slow-paced game. Only this time now definitely favors Rapha. Rapha has all the weapons, he's got all the stack. He's simply allowing the Mega to be delayed. And now dramis is really... Oh
Ouch.
my god! Oh,
Uppercut shotgun to the...
that was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
For Rapha, not dramis. He's going for a little bit more. dramis taking even more of this damage. And now, this is often the point that people have to worry about. Rapha's in full control. He has both items. He has perfect timing. He has all the weapons. This is normally when Rapha starts to make a commanding lead happen. No choice but to pop the Pika. With the rail cooldown, you need to try and make that distraction somehow. The fact that dramis got that shot was insane. Okay, back in it.
Yeah, and it was crazy, but sometimes you have to do crazy things against the best players in the world, so it paid off that time, but not that time. He's way too early for that Mega.
Speaking of Mega, Rapha's the one that soaks it up. This 5-minute warning is done. Half the map. And the drop down, risky business there with dramis, nowhere near as healthy. And again, Rapha consistently in a better position for these items, almost every single time at this point.
Yeah, and I can feel the momentum and life being drained out of dramis now as he's being strangled off the map. And yes, you got a frag off the last big contest for heavy, but it was a number of crazy back-to-back rails. And how many times is that going to happen? He needs to get himself in a more higher probability position to kill his opponent, which is dealing damage from range and getting some items. But obviously, even doing that against Rapha is a hard task.
As long as Rapha keeps dramis behind at this point, that's going to be a victory in its own right. The Plasma Trail's been forced to retreat and try and disengage. dramis is going to have to spend time getting some of these resources back. That was quite a risky play, going straight through the teleporter. But at this point, I mean, Rapha can play the game of just starve dramis off the map. Keep dramis behind. The second dramis gets anything back, rail. That's it, done. Back to the drawing board.
It's also got the rotation on one of the lights as well. I mean, dramis literally has only one item to work with at this point in time. Nice.
Rapha's just looking for more at this stage. Mega is part of his rotation, and it's going to be his. A little bit of rocket damage, and dramis goes in for these big plays, tries to spring a trap, maybe catch Rapha off guard, get some opening damage. It's not going to work. But I mean, at this stage, he has to try something, maybe not that, because that's another frag. No, thank you, sir. Okay, that missed rail. I'd say an opportunity for dramis, but he's got nothing. Why did he went down the hallway with a gauntlet? He had nothing left.
And this map is now spiraled out of control.
Yes, it has. This has become what we like to know as a Rapha map at this point.
3 items on rotation still for the last 3 minutes.
Minimal plasma trail damage. He has an LG, but this is a chance. Okay, they do trade it. How weak is dramis? Ooh, quite. Very much so. Now, dramis has to be really careful here because there's a chance. With the time that's left and the snowball effect of these crouch sliders, there's always the chance that, in theory, dramis could make a comeback as fast as Rapha secured those frags. It's just going to be, I mean, how often do you see that happen to Rapha? That's what I'm thinking. Plasma Trail, aggressive Plasma Trail. The jump pad, though, is likely to be the finish. Because now here comes that Pika. Time to disengage dramis at this stage. He has to get some rockets because he's run out. This is all time wasted, and it's all time that he doesn't have. 5 frags in this time is really now starting to reach impossible territory.
Thin at best. It wasn't the cleanest victory from Rapha, but he was methodical. He maintained that rotation of 3 items and then took his opening well. And after that, dramis tried to commit for a few fights that might not have been in his favor and was caught off the spawn and a few more. And suddenly a 4-3 game became 9-3 within a matter of seconds.
And dramis at this point really just trying to force his hand any way possible. He has no other options. As many frags as he can to maybe soften the blow a little bit, but this map is done. Rapha's going to get the first map here versus dramis. And I mean, if we're looking at pure champions alone, Slash being Dramis's prize champion, I mean, this was, in theory, his best opportunity to get a map on Rapha, and it has just been snuffed away. Another rail to land, and this is an opportunity for Rapha to just stay warmed up, get some cool little rails perhaps, win some fights and get that muscle memory on deck.
I was really impressed by Dramis's execution, particularly in the early stages of the game, and yes, there were a few higher risk plays, but he made them count. And it did seem to rattle Rapha ever so slightly for a little bit.
Well, unfortunately, this map is just about to become yesterday's news because we're finishing things off and we're going into our second. I mean, dramis. It's quite a classic dramis match against Rapha where he's definitely able to bring it to Rapha in some ways. But then, I mean, the Rapha effect starts to happen, which is Rapha gets a solid lead. And the sheer momentum Rapha is able to build off that seems to almost, I think, compete versus anyone. Like the way that when Rapha gets that lead and he starts to cycle the map, he starts to get you off the spawn, especially when he uses Strog and just crouch sliding in general, we do see that. And it's like, you know, Rapha made him really work for that, and it difficult all round.
Yeah, but all things considered, for how much control it felt like Rapha had, particularly the mid game of that map, item splits were relatively even, nearly to the point of being even. Damage was in Rapha's favor. That was to be expected. He was more efficient in that aspect. Yes, dramis was more flashy and did string together some good points of damage in a few engagements to pick up frags. But really, Rapha made that stack advantage count in that mid game. He was able to solidify a rotation of the items and then bully dramis. And we didn't see a response. And there wasn't really a response from dramis. Beyond those key frags he picked up through a number of back-to-back flashy frags. So it was methodical from Rapha, nothing particularly outstanding. It was just a solid game.
Now our next map is something that I'm quite interested in, and the Anarchy versus the Ranger is going to be. So dramis is picking Ranger, Rapha's picking Anarchy. Blood Covenant, and there was a time where you would see Anarchy on this map all the time. A long time ago now. I mean, that must have been like 3 years or something.
That's when he was like an absolute bitch to hit.
And he was super fast.
He was so
and he could
quick.
He could just make every jump because he's just super fast.
Your rockets would just disappear under his hoverboard and nothing would happen, and then I would break my keyboard. So
you ever seen the end of have you ever seen the end of Casino, where it's like the metal plate prevented him, kept him safe? That movie with Robert De Niro. That's it. That's the hoverboard was the metal plate that kept him safe from the rocket.
I'm gonna have to watch that to get that reference.
That's a reference that's long lost. I'm sure at least one person in chat gets that reference, but we'll already skim over it just in case like literally no one got it. We'll just forget about it. That just fell flat. I have no idea what you're talking about. Hey, no. It only fell flat for you because you don't get it, but I get it. So I think it's all right.
So you think you're smart? I like it.
I'm gonna go read the. I'm gonna go read the chat now. And I just see a chat for people saying, "Oh, Catch Up's an idiot. One idiot.
Catch Up, you fool." But yeah, now back to whatever we're meant to be talking about, which is, I guess, what we're paid to do. I forgot my point.
Damn,
I forgot my point.
Check out the pro commentator over here. Anyway,
I've actually forgotten my point. Legitimately,
we were talking about Anarchy and Ranger and. We got way sidetracked talking about like the old days.
You have to be spot on with your positions with Ranger. You're going to get overrun by the speedy Anarchy, particularly if he's stacked. And the use of the orb is paramount because as much as you might be tempted to use it aggressively and it has that burst potential, it needs to only be used aggressively if you would need to secure the kill, because otherwise it has to be your get out of jail free card. And using it particularly vertically is a really good way to do that. But it is a hard life as a Ranger against Anarchy on this map.
Well, we're loading into it right now after that brief interval. Rapha versus dramis, map number 2, Anarchy and Ranger. So we're checking things out from Rapha's point of view. Once again, access to the heavy machine gun. But now we're back into that initial challenge. Where are they? What are they picking up? Rapha with the immediate take on Rail. No games, no messing around. Looks like dramis did unfortunately make his position known with that missed Rail. Rapha, an opportunity to get more of this damage, and he gets one opening shot that dramis can't answer back for. And with Heavy about to spawn. All right, good choice from dramis to push out a little bit, just so he doesn't get particularly bullied. 77 health. I mean, Rapha was half a second away.
Aggressively, I like to see that. Okay, that's less positive.
It's a shame, really, that dramis couldn't get that rail like half a second earlier, because right up until that point, Rapha was railable. He had 77 HP. But unfortunately not. And now with dramis as weak as he is, he'd be a madman to challenge for this Heavy. I am honestly kind of shocked that dramis made his position known when he was that weak.
Yeah. Slight overextension, and now Rapha is very much on the ascension. This is the problem. You just get overrun. If you don't have the orb up, you just feel so vulnerable the whole time.
Now dramis stuck in a pretty much unsurvivable situation. Really damned if you do, damned if you don't there, I think. And now with Rapha, a 3-frag lead, only a minute and a half in. I mean, if things keep going this way, we might have one of our most dominant maps of the day. And that's saying a lot with some of the maps that we've had today.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Rapha left the railgun down there for dramis to pick up. But it was a smart play to double back and pick up the light armor before the Heavy, because even though the Heavy was going to spawn, nice rails from dramis, and the follow-up of the orb is good. I was about to say, even though the Heavy was up, he knew dramis wasn't going to commit, but never mind, we're back into the game.
Just like that. But now Rapha, in that exact turn of events, is now the one looking for armor here. And just trying to get some of those weapons. Armor's going to go to him at last, gets a little bit. But now he's just looking at dramis, the stack that he's working with, and the fact that Rapha really not particularly healthy and wanting to take this fight, I don't think. He has the Mega, and he's out. All right, that's it. Objective done. We've got the rail, and now Rapha can start to play a bit more of a solid game. Ooh, good shots. Drama's still sticking around.
Machine gun.
Goes in for the aggressive orb. All or nothing. Big risk, big reward, and the big reward's going to be a clutch rail to make it a 2-3. Check out dramis. Looking good right now.
Yeah, that's one of those moves where if it pulls off, you feel like a king, and if it doesn't, you just you feel like a bit of a fool. So, luckily for dramis, it did time.
That missed rail is risky. Oh, that's a really good shot. Thanks to Anarchy and his air movement, though, that rocket is not going to force him towards the jump pad. Rapha able to save his own skin. Now, dramis, inch by inch, bringing his way back into this map. He's doing a good job of playing around Rapha's movement, but yeah, that's the danger. One miss. I mean, if you play within Anarchy's effective range here, I mean, it's like one missed rail, one mistake, and Rapha just pounces. There's a lot of pressure on dramis, I think, to play this as well as he can.
And this is what I mean. Like, you can see Rapha, as soon as he's got the stack, he's just pushing in onto dramis. So you're just forced to hit your shots, and then there's nothing you can do except man up.
Well, dramis is doing a good job of hitting some of these rails so far. They're not leading to a giant amount, but he's not getting completely overrun yet. I think yet being maybe the key word here. We might be a matter of time before Rapha just starts this insane cycle, which we know he can do. But now dramis is playing it so carefully. He actually hasn't moved for the past 15 seconds, by the way. I know we're checking out Rapha's POV at the moment.
That's fine. He's won himself a Heavy just through that positioning. Rapha afraid to overextend. Nice by dramis, closing the gap, and a good follow-up with that rail. Does close the gap in scoreline.
Nice little flyby rail there from Rapha. It's going to force dramis into a bit of a tricky position, especially now his orb is not ready. Rapha's going to pick that one up. Double dramis's frags at the moment. Yeah, dramis has to be careful there. Information, but still not really enough. I mean, going in with as much machine gun damage as he can, but still to no avail right as Mega spawns, so worst possible time to lose a frag as now Rapha pushes in.
it is the worst possible time to lose a frag, and it's a common tactic, and something Rapha does well is to make sure you're pushing just before items come up, so you can fall back to them and restack. And when you have such a quick champion, it makes that strategy even more effective.
The danger that dramis is now going to have is, how do I get that angle? With him moving so fast and cycling this map much faster than I ever could, how do I even put myself in position to get these rail shots on him that he can't return on me? Speaking of rails, another one's going to hit its mark as Rapha now 8-3 versus dramis, who is now starting to fall away from him.
And Rapha's actively trying to close the gap so he doesn't engage in these rail duels with dramis. He's got the stack advantage, he's got full control, he wants to have these close combat fights.
And there's more of it. Rapha with a drop down just in case dramis does, in fact, jump down, and he will. Incredibly low and incredibly weak as Rapha cycles the map. The rotation again, Mega's going to go to him. Just like that, a dramis, yes, he collected the heavy, but one rail and that heavy is going to be completely undone. At this point, just trying to machine gun it down, and he's still doing just as much damage to keep dramis sweating. Oh, point blank. Right as the injection comes out, so Rapha doesn't really have to care too much about it, and he can deny the lights. What does dramis even use to recover?
Popping that injection means he doesn't need the Mega, he needs the heavy, so just retreats to the other side of the map and gets maximum stack.
And all this is going to make the work for dramis so much worse. Less than 3 minutes left to go, and look at the stack advantage. And the Tri-Bolt just to add insult to injury. 60 more damage. What? That Tri-Bolt almost completely deleted dramis. No! Dramis definitely, I don't think, convinced Rapha was going to go down there.
And yeah, now we're just watching a steamrolling as Rapha is in full flow.
GGs are at hand. Absolutely. 11-3 this late on. Really nothing dramis can do at this point, but this is that dangerous point where Rapha, he starts hitting the shots. He starts just feeling himself, doing what he wants. Looking nice and warmed up for the next map. And I do fear that the potential 3-0 that we've all been talking about is likely to happen at this rate. With Rapha now seizing a second map on dramis in incredibly dominant fashion. Dramis, in many ways, just not being allowed to exist on this map the moment Rapha got that lead. But this is the Rapha effect. Rapha gets a lead on you, Rapha gets control, and he wins the map before the maps even come close to ending.
Yeah, this was unfortunately a bullying. And in part, it does definitely comes down to the picks that Rapha had the speed to absolutely control the map. Like, what can you do when the Anarchy's flying through a doorway like that? So it is extremely tough, and dramis didn't have the answer today.
Definitely not. And this is just victory lap of like 3 minutes at least, as we now come to a close. Nice to see Rapha still looking as strong as ever. Definitely getting himself in shape for when these finals come about in a couple of weeks' time. I know we're talking as if this series is over. We still have got one map to get through, don't get me wrong, but with just how things are going so far, it's really hard to think that Rapha isn't going to 3-0 this, to be honest.
No, it's been command. The first map was methodical, this map was commanding. And we've got a Keel against a Sorlag, so you can definitely brawl with the Keel. Once again, I think I'm going to struggle with the speed of the Sorlag on that one.
Rapha's not going to concede even one single frag. Remember, Rapha, not the kind of player that starts to have fun with it, that starts to take his foot off the gas. He goes 100% until that final second. It's very professional from Rapha, if I do say so myself. This guy is a pro by every count.
That is a word you would associate with Rapha. Professional is probably the word I would choose every time.
And he commands a 15-3 victory on dramis. Blood Covenant was very tricky for poor old dramis right there. And just even the stats alone, Rapha almost double dramis's damage. Almost. And like I said before, Dramis, even though his item use wasn't even that bad, like 8 to 11 of the heavies and then 7 to 10, that's not awful. But everything else in between was just a disaster. Rapha was all over him.
Yeah, he was. There was nothing he could really do. I felt that the way he needed to play that was a much slower tempo. Play a rail game, which I think he tried to do for parts of it. Rapha denied that, tried to play the choke points. He did a good job once again of getting items. Like, that's something Dramis has done very, very well, in spite of the fact it does feel that Rapha is truly dominating the game. The item splits aren't as one-sided as one might think, so he does a great job at that. It was just the tempo that Rapha was playing at was too high for Dramis to match. And there was, again, another 2-3 minute period where Dramis was keeping it close, and that was by sheer skill of hitting crazy shots and using the orb to follow up. Once that momentum had subsided and Rapha had his grip on the game, once again, it felt inevitable that a victory was coming.
Very classic of Rapha. And it always is that once he's kind of dug his heels in, very few players are able to really break that cycle. We've seen
he's
that
he's like a
online.
python, isn't he? He just kind of just slowly wraps himself around your neck to the point where you subside and you tap out.
I think, I feel like if there was some means to GG it and for players to forfeit, part of me almost wonders if sometimes Rapha would have the highest amount of player forfeits, purely because of situations that at an early stage he's made it completely and utterly unwinnable, and then he forces you to just endure the remaining 5 minutes when it's you're burning out, he's still looking really good, you got to get through the final X amount of time that is unwinnable because he's just done such a crazy job of just ruining all hope for you, basically. Rapha, he's a lovely guy. He's a lovely guy, but his playstyle is the most crushing style.
Yeah, it is miserable when you feel hopeless. Particularly when you're then playing as well as Dramis, hitting multiple shots back to back, and you still have this unrelenting force who then frags you and runs back at you again fully stacked because he falls back on some items, because that's how perfect he's playing. It is just brutal.
But we're loading into our final map now, which is going to be Awoken. Thanks for joining us, everyone, by the way. This has been a fun day. We've had some really good matches, and it's crazy to think that we're already at the point where it's our final map taking place for one final time. If you want to share out this final map, feel free to get involved in social media, hashtag Quake Pro League. Hey, look.
I'm so glad you're giving them permission, Ketchup.
I know, yeah, you've got my whatever. That's
signed and sealed.
That's a entirely separate discussion. But no, thanks for joining us all so much, everyone. It's been a fun day. And let's see if this Keel on Awoken can make something happen. Dramis immediately just jumped off the map and ring out himself during this warm-up. Nice to see that he's still having fun. But, I mean, yeah, I think Rapha and the 3-0 is the likely result at this stage.
Yeah, I agree. I think this matchup in particular is not as one-sided as the last one, but still relatively one-sided on this particular map.
But as we now go in, the final countdown on this final map of the day, Rapha and Dramis checking out Rapha's point of view first for another time. And he's going to be on heavy side. Now, my concern for Dramis is that he's going to get out-mobilitied quite hard. And I think that there's going to be quite the emphasis on him trying to secure some kind of easy lead. I do fear that he runs the risk of getting steamrolled quite a lot if he's just not able to really put a foot in here. If Rapha's able to just fly around this map and he's got every weapon and he's got all the ammo. Nice shot from Dramis. Hello. Okay, let's see what Dramis can get from this. The restack and I guess the spawn stack is going to be something both players have to deal with. I gotta say, I can't remember the last time I've seen a heavy versus heavy on Awoken.
No, I haven't either. And heavy versus heavy it's not normally a pick on Veil.
Yeah.
But it is a brawl because, as you rightly say, the stack you spawn with is big. The stack you can build is equally big. And so you always feel confident to be able to push in. And Rapha does exactly that, but gets pinned in the air and flies to his death as Dramis. That is some real tracking, my man. Nice headshot.
Now, dramis has got himself a nice little lead to begin with here. He has to make sure he's staying nice and mobile, though. Rapha always seems to be on the hunt in some way. He's trying to get a prediction. Are you going to go towards Mega? Oh, Rapha more content to wait it out. That one's unfortunate. And he's going to get a frag. I mean, just good positioning. Dramis, I think Dramis had an idea that he was up there. I think Dramis must have just felt like he was at least safe to go up. And here comes that damage. Unfortunately, it's damage he is not able to completely finish. Rapha gets another one. 2-2. I feel like there's going to be a lot of these absolute just brawl-based frags. We fly in, we fight, one of us will die.
I agree, as Dramis is hitting his shots though, but needs to back off as Rapha's equally
sad for Dramis.
him with his lightning.
He hit every shot except for the final one. And now that's given Rapha the Mega the opportunity to disengage. And he has all the armor. Hang on a minute. This is a bad spot for Dramis, even off that teleporter. He knows he's going to get chased, and Rapha not playing any games. Straight through the teleporter, straight with a super shotgun. That's it. Oh. Another initial rail there from Rapha. That's Dramis. Definitely looking to get some kind of, I mean, one up in any capacity, I think, at this point. He doesn't want to say he looks a bit lost, but he's trying to make sure there's some safe way of moving around, but Rapha's always somehow there. It really looks to me like, from checking out Dramis' side after that frag, that Dramis is looking around, trying to play around Rapha, yet Rapha is always right on top of him. Ouch. Okay. Wow. Good frag. Ah, Dramis. Okay, he's got the Mega. And any opportunity Dramis has to get some kind of rail angle on Rapha, his movement is so fast that he's kind of in and out before Dramis can even get a single shot off.
Yeah, and that speed is so difficult to deal with. But Dramis has done an admirable job so far. He's only one frag down. He's got a very big stack to work with. He can push in for this Mega. A bit late, though. Going up the jump pad when you're late is not a good choice. Somehow does get away with a decent stack still.
Oh dear. A lot of faith in these rails. Unfortunately, Dramis isn't quite hitting them. Not a lot of damage on that rocket either. Oh, that grenade was absolutely spectacular! Mid-air grenade, and then the combo with the LG. That is one of the best frags I've seen all day, if not the best.
It was lovely. He is running into a bit of a choke point here, and comes out okay just before the Mega as well, so he's sitting pretty 10 seconds before the heavy. So Rapha, if he can get the weaponry, should be able to compete for this, and is there. Now it's Dramis' time to retreat.
Man, that really was such a sick frag. Off a grenade too, not an easy shot. Anyway, Dramis incredibly weak, and Rapha with the pickup. Before we can even finish talking about that, it's even again, and now the half-minute mark.
Both major items as well, so Dramis is in a lot of trouble here. Rapha is late though, and he hits a grenade as well. He needs to run away.
And this will forever be the strength of Keel. He's not the fastest. He's one of the less mobile champions in the entire game, but if he gets you in that choke point, those grenades absolutely delete health. It's dangerous for Dramis. Very dangerous.
Sorlag, but he's so low. He has to risk it trying to pick it up, but really early.
He was almost entirely 10 seconds too early right there. But the grenades.
Oh, those grenades again!
The grenades! He gets hit by the rail though, Rapha. I mean, best case scenario is the rail damage that he's done, because now the respawning stack is pretty damn good. Dramis, important to hit these rails. You cannot allow yourself to get overwhelmed, because it looks like Rapha is still putting on the aggression.
Exactly, you can't afford to not commit for these major items. So Dramis had no right to bully his way in and take that Mega, but he did, and he got a frag. Because of grenades, because of his starting stack.
Uh-oh, miss! Oh no, taste of your own medicine.
It's like your favorite thing in Duels is a ring out.
It is! I'll never get tired of it. I
love it. I love the enjoyment it brings you.
I like that it's now been one each way. Now Rapha's going to go down again. Man, these so
grenades are causing him an absolute headache.
He's gone through quite a few of them though. Hasn't got any more.
it's not just the damage, it's the fact it knocks him out of position.
Oh dear. Oh, that's yeah, that was a bit of a
so unlucky.
Bold play.
So unlucky. Half a second.
Now Rapha is, I mean, he's a lot more ahead in the lead than most in the stage of this map. I mean, it's been pretty much one frag here and there, most of the time even. For the first time now, Rapha in the lead by 2 frags. Here comes the push, the big push. Dramis out of armor, and he really cannot force himself. And here comes the movement. Rapha making chase, and Dramis, I mean, he just doesn't have the speed to get away. There was no way he was surviving that one. I mean, there's nowhere he can go.
No.
And it's starting to fall away from him. Rapha seizing this lead, 3 frags in the lead, tons of stack. Even with that damage, I mean, Dramis able to fight back a little bit, but can he make this count? Looks like Dramis is, I think at this point, trying to get himself... No, he's got a rail. Good. Just picked it up. Oh, that missed. Gonna get punished. That's a bad miss.
He got the pickup, though, which means he's in a better position to push in for this Mega if he gets a good spawn, which he does, but he's so fat and slow, he can't make it.
I mean, Rapha definitely knew that Dramis was going to push that off the spawn. I think that's why Rapha positioned himself near the pillar, to try and block off some of the grenades at last. The fact he was there early enough meant he could actually have a plan of attack for when Dramis goes in this time. And here...
He hasn't got the weapons to compete. He needs to hit so many rails. He's set himself an impossible task. He did some decent damage, but now the snowball is really increasing, and every time he pushes in without success, it just becomes even harder for him.
And Rapha just sitting pretty and waiting. He knows Dramis can't resist but go up the jump pad eventually, and when he does, he's just got that final shot ready to go. Oh, Dramis looking for any advantage he can squeeze out at this point, but I do fear too little too late, as we're now 1 minute 10. This is our final map, remember. Dramis is already 2-0 down, and I think there's too much work to do and not enough time to get it done. Rapha is just going to pick up these frags.
Once again, it's full credit for Dramis to always be in the contest. There was no time where it felt that Rapha was going to fully run away with it. The item split has been fairly equal. Dramis has made his presence felt the entire time on the items, but on the flip side, it never felt that Dramis was ever taking control and really had a grip of the map either. It was just, he was just trying to brawl, and he did drag Rapha into that brawl with him. And so the score wasn't as one-sided as I might have imagined it was going to be. But yeah, there was just, never felt like he really had a good foothold to make a play to win the game.
Yeah, and these frags are just getting the job done. 15 seconds left. Rapha is going to take a commanding victory today versus Dramis. Great to see Rapha playing, and great to see that he's still on top form. Looking real good, and I mean, what else can you really say? That's just Rapha playing. Rapha playing the Rapha way.
I was massively impressed with Dramis across all the maps. I know map 2 and 3 were slightly more one-sided, but I felt we saw versatility, some moments of true greatness. And going up against Rapha, like, he did as good as would be expected at this point in time, given his progression in the QPL. He has on offer. There's, again, but it is going up against Rapha, so it's unfortunate it wasn't, I guess, validated in any way.
I think also, it's kind of like you pointed out, really. Rapha, he has this effect of once he has that lead, and once he's cemented himself into the map, a lot of players, I mean, most players, are pretty much completely unable to take him off that pedestal. And we've just seen that constantly. And that's, especially in those final 2 maps, that's what happened. That Dramis, I mean, he made it really competitive for a decent chunk of those 2 maps. It was just, once we'd kind of crossed that line, there was no recovering from it. But that's something that Rapha seems to do to everyone. So the fact that that line didn't get crossed within the first minute, which can happen with people, is good in its own right. But ultimately, Rapha does secure I think, the more predictable result in a 3-0 over Dramis. Dramis, I mean, everyone that seems to fight Rapha, they go into it, and if a loss happens, then it happens. But He played well, all things considered. But Rapha, I mean, he's one of the absolute best for a reason, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, it's the Rapha show. But we've had some good games today. That was another enjoyable one. My pick of the day, Avec. He looks like an absolute monster. Cypher played exceptional as well. So I was so impressed with all the games today. So it just sets us up really nicely for the finish of the season and then the finals.
It does make me very, very excited, actually. It makes me excited to see what's going to happen in the finals, because with just the way things have been going, the players, they've had to really grind out the online world because of just, the way things are in the world right now. The transition to online play as the only form of play is something that players have had to get used to. I think players have done an impeccable job of adapting to those conditions. We definitely saw that with the Stage 3 finals, where the games were just out of this world good. So many top-level Quake players were saying about the Stage 3 finals alone that they were some of the absolute highest concentration of amazing games in one final of ever. And I'm really interested to see if Stage 4 can somehow top that.
If it does, I'd be a happy man, because I was one of the people saying Stage 3 was probably the most competitive tournament I've ever seen in Quake. So it really does set up well, and it does feel that the games are getting closer and closer and better in terms of skill level. So this game 2 stages ago, dramis Rapha would have been an absolute whitewash, where dramis put up an amazing performance and kept Rapha on his toes. If Rapha took his foot off the pedal, I can guarantee dramis would have been very much in the games much closer than he would have been.
I think it's a real celebration of how strong a lot of players in the Americas are starting to become, where we are seeing a lot more, I think, personal growth from those players. Europe and CIS has very much been players that will do well, doing well. Cypher's the real kind of success story there, which is almost weird calling. I mean, it's always going to feel weird calling Cypher a success story. But in Quake Champions, he has been, and now he's been able to cement himself as top 4, one of the absolute greatest players in the world. Not just from previous games now and previous successes, giving him a reputation. He's now in Quake Champions becoming that complete package that the Raphas are becoming, and other players of that caliber. So it's great to see. But no, I think all round we've been blessed with really, really good games. Even down to our first day base just looking absolutely phenomenal. The crazy close affair between Sparty and CNZ. And then, the real killer matches. The Avec, with Avec looking frighteningly on form. And then Cypher absolutely going to feel good about his result, without question. It's been a really fun day.
Not a single series I wouldn't want to rewatch today. I thought everything was taken up a level. Obviously, Tox 3-0, there's so many Tox fanboys out there, but Base put on a masterclass, really. The rest of the results, I think, went the way we expected them to. I don't feel there was any quote-unquote upsets today. Potentially Cypher beating Killson, should I say, might be considered an ever so slight upset given their rankings and the past results, but as you rightly said, Cypher is the man on form and fully deserved that one. The rest of them, Avec beating Cooler would be the only other one I would say was an upset, particularly a 3-0. I definitely called that Cooler's ways. But overall, the quality of Quake was amazing. Avec is a little beast and he's back. Times are good.
I think this could be the Cypher over Killson result might actually be one of the absolute most pivotal results that we've had in Stage 4. And what I mean by that is Cypher seemed almost completely and utterly lost versus Killson when they collided at Stage 3, even though he played so well to reach that point. And I think quite a few people felt really bad about that because, he was super pumped. He was super far in the tournament. And at that last minute, it all kind of just fell apart. And getting that victory versus Killson today is, if anything, going into Stage 4 with, right, I could already do well versus all these people. And now I've just beat Killson. So, would you even feel like on a confidence level that maybe you're even untouchable going into Stage 4? Now knowing you can beat everyone. And for confidence alone, I do wonder if that's going to have some kind of positive consequences for Cypher's mental game going into Stage 4. I do believe we should have the updated leaderboard so we can see where the current standings are. I am interested to see what today's results have done, actually. Cypher still looking real good. These are the old rankings, actually. It's actually been quite correctly pointed out by production. So this is where we were at the start of the day. This is the leaderboard we've been referring to throughout the course of the entire show. And I mean, the stuff to talk about from this was, I mean, at the end of the day, it's Cypher has kept his position. Kilson, I think Kilson and Rapha, I think they're just going to be there for the entirety of this Pro League, to be honest. But yeah, everything here is as expected. And when we change over to the updated rankings, we can see where any changes may or may not have taken place. I'm interested to see what happens between CNZ and Sparty, actually, and really where Avec has been able to push himself up. Because, I mean, his result today was very important, I think, for his own points.
Yeah, Cooler dropping down to 9th. Dropping below Chain, in fact. So that's quite something for Cooler. He needs to rectify that. Cypher creeping his way up, now level with the Hang, effectively 3rd in the world. Nothing particularly unexpected. I think Tox dropping to 13th. He needs to find a way to step up his game. But Wenger and Kudos both dropping ever so slightly in the overall rankings, and Baith creeping up to 6th. So a little bit of reshuffling, but it feels reasonable where everyone's sitting so far.
I think so too. It's more, I think, at this point about player confidence, if anything, knowing how you personally shape up versus everyone else as we go into the finals. It's just the nature of where we are and the lower end of the point count, especially for Europe and CIS. I mean, CNZ and Sparty, they're pretty far behind everyone else, right? And then you look at the players on top. I mean, the seeding's going to be a thing, yes and no, but at this point, it's just more about players. How have they played today, and how now do they fare versus everyone else? You know, Cypher keeps that top 4. The top tier is still the top tier, and the players that are on the lower end, aside from, I guess, Avec, I suppose, at this point, because Avic's result today has been very impactful to him, I think. Everything else is as expected, I guess. But I do believe, ZSX, that is all we have time for this week. So, I mean, this was week 8 of stage 4. We have a couple more of these, and then the all-important stage 4 finals. Anything you want to finish with before we close out here?
No. I've enjoyed today. It's been a while since I've been sitting in this chair, so
welcome back, mate.
I know, it feels good. It feels good to shake off the cobwebs, but I'll be back soon, and just hope the games continue to roll in, because today was really enjoyable.
Well, it's always a pleasure. I want to extend one final thank you to every wonderful person watching on Twitch. Thanks for joining us today, and hopefully you enjoyed the games. My name is Ketchup, joined by ZSX. Thank you so much to all the hardworking people behind the scenes making these shows happen, the production crews, the admins, everyone involved, and the players for sticking through and giving their A game every single week. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Quake Pro League, and we'll see you next week.